Hey guys, it's Will and Sam here, and we're back with another battle report. Sam, what we got tonight?
So tonight we're back at 2K again, because that's the points value we've decided we're going to do.
Yeah, that seems to work for 8th Ed.
Yeah, it seems to be the points level people are playing at, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we've got your Necrons versus my Genestealer cult.
First time for both of us using these armies in this edition?
No, I've played cult once and they sucked, so I've modified the list to make them not suck, maybe.
And they've had the FAQ come out, which has given you a little something, hasn't
Made
it?
Genestealers 8 points cheaper. And I was like, hold on, my Genestealers are cheaper than my Acolytes.
And then what did you do with your Genestealers?
I left them in my Tyranny box.
Ooh, so only a few of them tonight, but yeah, my first time trying out Necrons. Really powerful army in 7th Ed, changed a lot now. I think a very different strategy is going to be needed with Necrons compared to what I used to run. There is no such thing as Decurion.
Yeah, I'm very looking forward to see how Necrons perform, because I may not be doing a Necron army.
Yes, I think this will be an interesting learning experience for you facing off against them before you start building them, and I'm really interested to see how the cult work now, because they had some really sneaky tricks in the last edition.
They still have sneaky tricks, but they're more they sneak and then they're there, that's it.
Okay, so they don't sneak off and sneak back again?
No.
This is good, and they don't start respawning?
No, none of that now.
No,
so
that's my trick.
Yeah.
You can't steal my trick.
But anyway,
without further ado, to battle. So here's my 2,000 points of Necrons, standard battalion detachment, and my first attempt at a Necron list in 8th edition. Starting down here with HQs, I've got my Overlord, Hazra the Pitiless, with a Resurrection Orb and a War Scythe, and he's brought along with him 2 Cryptex, the standard GW one there, and my converted one there. Then I've got masses of troops, got 10 Immortals with Tesla Carbines, and 3 units of 15 Warriors. Really want to make the most out of Reanimation Protocol, and I think big numbers and a couple of Cryptex spaced in there is going to be the best way to do it. Giving me a bit of a fast counterpunch, got my Wraiths, probably not going to be as good as they were last edition, but could potentially still do something. And a unit of 5 Destroyers, very expensive now, but hopefully they will prove to be worth it. Then I've got a Triarch Stalker, got the Heat Ray on there, and finally a Doom Scythe. Yes, it's not a Night Scythe, it's actually a Doom Scythe. I haven't seen one of those for a while. Anyway, that is 2,000 points of Necrons. And here's Sam's Genestealer cult army. This army contains pretty much the same models as he was running in 7th, but very different unit sizes. So over here we've got his HQs. So the big bad boy in the middle there is the Patriarch, and then we've got the Primus and the Magus. 2 units of Acolytes. These are 20-man squads, and looks like leaders have various extra weapons in there. 2 units of Acolytes with hand flamers and demo charges, and they're riding into rock grinders, and they both appear to have the flamethrowers on there, so that's cool. A lot of flamey goodness in those units. And we've got 2 units of neophytes. This nearer squad has 2 mining lasers, and this one has 2 grenade launchers, and they've both got chimeras. They're going to be vastly more survivable now in this edition. Then he's got a big unit of metamorphs, 10 of them in there. There's some guys with crushing claws. We've also got the leader who has a bone sword, and 1 guy who has scything talons. Then we got 10 pure strain Genestealers. Sorry, 8 pure strain Genestealers. He was actually planning to bring a squad of 20 of these, but left them at home, so had to switch them out for something else. And finally, a Lehman Russ. We've got the twin autocannon on there, and loads of heavy bolters. This thing is going to put out a serious amount of firepower. But anyway, 2,000 points of Genestealer cult. Let's go on to deployment. Right, so before we go any further, I just want to give you guys fair warning. When we were shooting this, I accidentally muted the mic for the final player turn and the post game, so those were basically unsalvageable. There was nothing I could do because there's literally no sound on them. But I felt it was still worth uploading this batrep for 2 reasons. 1, or 3 reasons really. 1, it is a good game up to that point. 2, by that point the result was pretty much all said and done. You know, it was a pretty uneventful turn that didn't have any real impact on the outcome, so I don't feel like we really lost that much. And finally, I thought it was a good opportunity to see two armies that perhaps haven't been featured so much lately, the Necrons and the Genestealer cult, and yeah, see what they're capable of in this edition. But all I'd say is, you know, if it is going to bug you that the game cuts just before the end rather than after the game, then you know, you might be better off going to watch one of my other videos. But yeah, other than that, for those of you still around, let's go and see how the army's deployed. So here we are, we've all deployed. Mission we've rolled up is Spoils of War, so it's the one where you can steal your opponent's score objective X markers. So that's pretty cool. I think the Necrons have got the numbers that might allow me to do something with that. Sam was able to pick deployment zone and finish deploying first. A lot of the Genestealer cult have deployed off the board, so we've got Rock Grinder and Chimera there, both of which have their respective squads inside. Another Rock Grinder full of Acolytes in the middle, Leman Russ, and another Chimera full of Neophytes. All the other Acolytes and Metamorphs and Pure Strain and all his characters are in reserves. Deployed the core of my Necron army in a long line with strategically placed characters, so these two middle units are both within range of my Lord's Resurrection Orb, and it will be done. Both of these units are within range of that Cryptex Chronometron, and both of these units are in range of this Cryptex Chronometron. We've got the Stalker, the Destroyers, and the Wraiths over here, and then the Doom Scythe coming down the other flank. So, at the moment, Sam is going first, but, as ever, I'm going to have a crack at seizing the initiative. Nope, it's a 1. Initiative not stolen. Here we go, with Genestealer cult, turn 1. So, Genestealer first turn, and horrible, horrible Genestealers appearing everywhere, all around me. So, we had these Pure Strain Genestealers, along with a Magus, appear behind my lines, 9 inches out. These guys appeared 9 inches out from the front of my lines. These guys were 9 inches out but could also move, so they ended up 3 inches from this warrior squad. And these guys, unfortunately for them, had to deploy a bit further back. Psychic Phase, he tried to cast Mass Hypnosis on the warrior squad that was here, but it failed. But he did then get Might from Beyond from his Patriarch onto that squad, so they were +1 to hit, +1 strength. Shooting was moderately ineffective. Over here the Chimera put down 1 Destroyer, and what else? These guys and these guys killed a few warriors from that squad, and the big squad in the middle took down a couple of warriors from here. The Leman Russ fired for the Destroyers, and that should have been the most effective shooting, but did absolutely nothing. Oh, okay, those guys didn't shoot, sorry, it must have been the Rock Grinders and the Chimeras that took down a couple from this squad. Assault Phase, these guys charged in, lost 2 of their number on the way in to Overwatch fire, and these guys tried to charge in as well. He even used a command point to get them a reroll on one of the dice, but they didn't make it in. However, he did keep his Primus within 6 inches of these guys for his little buff. And the Pure Strain Genestealers also attempted to charge, going for the Wraiths, but they actually failed their charge, so they won't be going anywhere. Finally, this combat was an absolute massacre. The Genestealers, with all the buffs onto them, also the Acolytes, absolutely cut through that warrior squad, wiped them out to a man. And yeah, that was it for Genestealer turn 1. Pretty good start to the turn for the Necrons here. We've got secure objective 1 and 4, both of which are pretty close to my deployment zone. Advance, not such an easy one to score because I need to get out of my deployment zone. I think I physically can't do that because I'm so fat and slow, but hey. Needed to wipe out the Genestealers that were getting closest to me. So back this warrior squad off. Back the Immortals off slightly. The Cryptech that was tied up in combat over there after his turn ran out of combat. Obviously it's keeping him safe, but he can't do anything this turn, but that's fine, he's only a Cryptek. And then I pushed up the Spider onto Objective 1, Destroyers came around the flank, and I just made sure the Immortals were towing in on 4 as well. Wraiths came back to deal with the Genestealers behind me. Overlord did My Will Be Done onto the Immortals, and they proceeded to kill a good chunk of the Genestealer Acolyte unit there, and then the Doom Scythe that had moved forward fired backwards into them and killed a chunk more. They would have automatically died from leadership had Sam not spent 2 command points to give them suicidal bravery or whatever it is to stop them running away. These guys shot at the Genestealers, killed 4 of them, and then in combat the Wraiths finished them off before consolidating into the Magus. And over here, this unit of warriors, the Triarch Stalker and the Destroyers, who had got back the one that had died last turn from Reanimation Protocol, opened up on these guys, did a good chunk of casualties, but they're fearless because of the Patriarchs, so they ain't going anywhere. But still, that scored me 2 points. Alas, I was too late for First Blood. He scored that last turn off my warriors. But yeah, not a bad little turn, and we now go on to Genestealer turn 2. So Genestealer turn 2, and Sam continues to press the attack. His objectives were secure Objective 1, overwhelming firepower, and scour the skies. So a lot of the firepower from this side of the battlefield, the Chimera, one Chimera, both Rock Grinders, the Acolytes, and the Leman Russ, all moved into position or stood still where necessary to target the Doom Scythe, and did a total of 1 wound between all of them. Some lucky saves there, I have to admit, and that one wound's coming back next turn thanks to Living Metal, but not what I wanted. Other than that, he continued to swarm over this side of the battlefield. These guys moved up to grab Objective 1, the Patriarch broke off, and these guys continued to overwhelm this side of things. Now, Psychic Phase, he managed to get off Mass Hypnosis onto the Immortals, meaning they couldn't fire Overwatch at -1 to hit, and Might from Beyond on these guys to give them +1 attack and +1 strength. That really helped them out because it meant they were able to do a huge amount of damage to this Triarch Stalker when they charged it. It's down to 4 wounds from 10. Its return attacks only killed 1. But he actually started his combat off with these Acolytes charging the Cryptek and wiped him out. I then did an interrupt with my Immortals to kill a few of his Metamorphs, but they then killed a whole bunch of Immortals. The Patriarch attacked these guys. Haven't actually done their attacks back yet, so I'll have to do that in a second. And yeah, these guys did some wounds, or quite a lot of wounds, to the Stalker. He did only score the single point for securing Objective 1 there, and he's discarded Scour the Skies because he's quite rightly thinking that's going to be a job to take down that. But then he ended his turn consolidating into combat over here, which is really frustrating because that's going to tie both of these units up for another turn. But I've still got to attack with these guys, and then I think it's going to be time to pop my Resurrection Orb to get a load of those Immortals back. But anyway, I'm just going to do that, and then see you for turn 2 for the Necrons. Really good cards for the Necrons. Started off what was a great turn. No prisoners, overwhelming firepower, and Witch Hunter. So, started with these... started with reanimations. Didn't get a Destroyer back, but was able to bring back the 5 dead Immortals from there, bringing me back up to full strength. And these guys got a guy back as well. This warrior squad advanced out of combat, so they weren't able to shoot, but that left the Broodlord, sorry, I don't mean Broodlord, I mean Patriarch, out in the open. The Night Scythe rerouted to come down and make him the closest model, because he was a bit out on his own. Destroyers swang around here. Wraiths moved up into position to fight Nick. No, they'd actually been drawn into combat, so they couldn't move. And the Overlord came over here to where his Magos was. Emphasis on the was, because the Overlord charged the Magus and killed him easily in single combat. But first they were shooting. the Doom Scythe led off. Death Ray and Tesla Destructors left the Overlord, the Patriarch on a single wound thanks to his Warlord trait, giving him a 6-up effective Feel No Pain. So it came down to the Cryptek, who was just closer to him than anything else, to finish him off. Lucky Star for light hit, and that is one dead Patriarch. Unfortunately, the rest of my shooting was distinctly lackluster, with so many units either tied up or advancing. The destroyers fired at the Leman Russ and put 2 hull points wounds on it, but that was it, straight on to combat. The destroyers charged in here trying to help out the Triarch Stalker and did manage to kill one of these guys, and another one fell to leadership, but not before they were able to wipe out the Stalker. So yeah, my Stalker's gone now. Over here, the Immortals didn't do any damage to the Metamorphs, but lost 5 Immortals. So the 5 that got back up did nothing and went straight back down. But the Wraiths did manage to wipe out the squad of Acolytes that were there, but not before their Lash Whip killed one of the warriors. So, all in all, a pretty good turn. I got 3 units wiped out, which gives me D3 for no prisoners, as well as scoring overwhelming firepower and Witch Hunter for the death of the Patriarch, as well, and Warlord as well. So really good turn there. Just need to roll my D3 for the points for no prisoners. That's just a 1, so it's a single point, but that does give me, I believe, 6 points now. Anyway, let's see what answer Sam's got in Genestealer, turn 3. So Sam's objectives this turn were 2 and 4. 2 was nice and easy to score because it's right in the back there. I can't remember if those guys disembarked this turn, but they're sitting on it, so they're fine. And objective 4, he just needed to keep slugging away in this combat. He also had overwhelming firepower, which he certainly did. Basically, everything around here, except the Leman Russ and one of the Rock Grinders, fired at the warrior squad that were here and just cut them down. That's really the way to kill Necrons, is just wipe out a whole unit at a time so they don't get to reanimate. Combat was a little bit less effective. He also shot for the Night Scythe with most of his other... Doom Scythe, with the Leman Russ and the Flamer from that Rock Grinder, but again didn't do any damage. But that loss of that warrior squad is a big chunk of my army gone that won't be coming back. In combat, he killed a single destroyer over here and a single immortal here for no casualties in return. So he scored all 3 of his points, because overwhelming firepower was those warriors, which puts it pretty close. And yeah, I'm running out of Necrons here. I'm down to just a single warrior squad, although I've still got my Wraiths ready to counterpunch next turn. Anyway, without further ado, let's take a look at Necron turn 3. So this turn I drew a lot of the defend objective cards, which you need to hold for 2 turns to score. In fact, I drew 3, 5 and 2, none of which were going to be easy to get at all. Now, after a little bit of reading the rules, we confirmed that because they're titled Defend, not Secure, I could discard them, so I used 2 command points, my last 2 command points, to chuck away Defend Objective 2, because that's right over there, and proceeded to draw Defend Objective 4, which at the time I wasn't holding because there were lots and lots of Genestealers around there. So swung my Wraiths round and then charged them into combat to give me the victory there. And my Overlord tried to run up to number 5, but rolled a 1 for his advance move, so he's going nowhere very quickly. Other than that, the Doom Scythe swang across here and opened up on both the Leman Russ and the Neophyte squad. Killed 4 of the Neophytes and put another 2 wounds on the Leman Russ. Could have been better, but not terrible. And in combat, I had resurrected another destroyer, which is always handy. They managed to take on 2 of the Acolytes for only 1 wound in return. And over here I managed to, like I say with the Wraiths, finished off that Metamorph unit, and the Immortals put a single wound on his Primus, for another 2 Immortal deaths, but they just keep coming back anyway. Cryptek's nice and nearby. These warriors did pretty much nothing all turn because there wasn't anything nearby they could do and they just needed to back up that objective. But yeah, not too bad there. Didn't actually score anything, but I'm on my way to scoring Defend 4 and really blunting the assault of these Genestealers. Alright, Genestealer turn 4 coming up. Okay, so the Genestealers pushed on hard this turn, having suffered big casualties last turn. The 2 units coming out of the Rock Grinders reinforced his lines, and yeah, that started to overwhelm me a bit. He had behind enemy lines and just managed to squeeze 3 units into my deployment zone to score that for D3, but then only rolled a 1. The Rock Grinders fired at the Wraiths, as did the Acolytes over there. Neophytes, sorry, not Acolytes. And they killed a total of 3 Wraiths. This unit moved up ready to target the Immortals, and the stuff over here fired at the Doom Scythe and did actually 2 wounds to it. He's finally started to do some damage. That Lasguns did as much damage as the Leman Russ though. In combat, this was a total stalemate again. These Acolytes just rolled over the Immortals for no damage. My Immortals are now dead, but he did have to kill them nearly twice over to finish them off. That also got me off Objective 4. And the Rock Grinders, surprisingly effective in combat, but Wraith's Invuln save saved them, only lost 2 wounds for doing 2 wounds back to it, so that's pretty balanced. He had 2 defends, Defend 5 and Defend 3, so didn't score those this turn, but could potentially get them next turn if I can't force him off. Anyway, I think this is Necron turn 4 coming up, and it's finally balanced. 2 very interesting things happened at the start of the 4th Necron turn. Firstly, I drew Mastery of the Warp, which was completely pointless and will be discarded at the end of the turn. But the other one was I realised, Destroyers have fly. They can just move out of combat and shoot normally. Why didn't I do that 3 turns ago? So they moved out of combat and proceeded to just light up those Acolytes. Why I didn't do that 3 turns ago, I do not know. I'm officially an idiot. But in an attempt to reclaim Objective 4, my warriors moved up, shot the Acolytes, and then charged the Primus. Did 3 wounds to the Primus, left him on a single wound, but he then killed 3 of their number. Hopefully they'll respawn next turn. And the Overlord charged over here to try and force some of these guys off Objective 5, rolled triple 1s to hit and took 4 wounds for his trouble. In the ongoing combat between the Rock Grinder and the Wraiths did another 2 wounds to the Rock Grinder. Another 1 wound for the Rock Grinder for no damage in return. Doom Scythe moved over here, and its Death Ray didn't do anything, but the other weapons did put a couple of hull points onto the 1 hull point onto the Leman Russ, and I don't mean hull point, I mean wound. So yeah, not a great turn, didn't score anything, but I am now defending force, so if I can hold that for another turn, that'll be worth 2 points. Not quite sure how I'm going to get him off Objective 5, just don't seem to have enough models now. I think that leaving those destroyers in combat for all those turns really cost me here. But anyway, 5th and potentially final Genestealer turn. Right, getting very close to the end here now. And yeah, Genestealers had area denial, so I needed to hold the centre. Unfortunately, my Wraiths were, destroyers were just close enough to deny him, even after these guys pushed up. Over here, the mining lasers actually managed to do something to the Doom Scythe, took a wound off it, which unfortunately for Sam it's just going to regain again. But over here, the Acolytes had a better time of things, barbecuing the Overlord before charging the Wraiths and losing 2 of their number. But the big loss was my warrior squad. Leman Russ, Chimera, 2 Rock Grinders, all opened up on them and eventually wiped them out. So it's a sad day. I thought I might be able to get Objective 4 there, but alas no, it has been denied me. So yeah, end of the turn, all he scored was a single point for Secure 5. He's discarded Mastery of the Warp and holding on to Area Denial in the hope he can grab it next turn. But yeah, I'm still holding 2 defend objectives and I'm a little bit behind on points now, so we're going to have to go for broke here. Here we go with Necron turn 5. So, just what I didn't need for my objectives. I drew priority orders received, which means my warlord has to secure it. And yeah, my warlord's dead, so not a lot I can do about that. Although I have found out Sam's been playing hand flamers wrong. They're D3 shots, not D6, but hey, too late to worry about it now. And hey, this early in the edition we all make mistakes. So my destroyers pushed just a little bit forward to make sure they stayed close to deny him area denial, and killed most of those acolytes. Doomscythe flew across there and opened up on the rock grinder. Did 4 hull points with the... oh no, 3 hull points in total. Wounds, sorry, I keep saying hull points, it's wounds with the death ray. Actually did something with the death ray. And in combat the wraiths wiped out those acolytes and took a wound from the rock grinder. So, that could be the end of the game. Sam, care to roll? No, one more turn. Here we go. So Sam didn't draw any cards he could score this turn, but he's far enough ahead that he could just focus on killing. So, a lot of this stuff all targeted the destroyers. And as you can see, they were pretty effective. I'm down to just 2 destroyers, one of which is wounded. Tried to shoot the the Doom Scythe, but he should learn by this point he's not going to kill that Doom Scythe. -1 to hit, toughness 7 with a 3-up save and regaining a wound every turn. That's not going to go down. The Primus got out of his vehicle and tried to take the Cryptek off objective 4 to deny that, but instead of killing the Cryptek, only put 2 wounds on him and died. The Cryptek Staff of Light finished him off, so yay. And over here, the Rock Grinder did no wounds for the Wraith, for no wounds in return, because the Wraiths apparently suck today. So, that was that. The Cryptek actually scored me 2 points that turn, because I've held 4 for 2 turns. So, yeah, on to the 6th Necron turn. Okay then, so that was where the mic accidentally cut out. That was entirely my fault. I pressed the wrong button, but I have checked. It is on now, so I'm not talking into a dead mic. And yeah, to be honest, my final turn, my 6th turn, was pretty uneventful. I didn't have a lot left to do a lot with. So it was just a case of playing it out and not achieving a lot, but by that point it was pretty solid Genestealer cult victory. In the early stages of the game it looked a lot closer, although he hit me hard on turn 1. I had the units to counterpunch. My destroyers could have been great if I'd actually remembered to fly them out of combat and not get tied up there. And yeah, ultimately though, the Genestealers were just able to overwhelm me. They're still great for disruption and sort of really kind of messing with your plans, and obviously very good in melee because they're Genestealers, that's what they do. My deployment, I kind of had a plan when I built the list of essentially how I deployed most of my infantry in a long line with the characters in key positions, so the Lord in the middle and the Crypteks either side, to try and maximise the effect of the Resurrection Orb and the Crypteks buffs. And I feel that would have worked if I'd come up against a really sort of shooty army that was going to mess up my armour saves and sort of do various casualties slowly throughout the game. But against an assault army, particularly one like Gene Colt, I was plucked apart. I really didn't have a plan to deal with them coming up behind me and being right on top of me turn 1. So you know, that's something I'm going to need to come up with if I face Gene Colt in the future. Yeah, certainly a strong army there. I feel my destroyers, like I said, could have been great. They've got a lot of firepower, very resilient. Just shouldn't have left them in combat. Big mistake. And one of 3 mistakes I've spotted in that game already. I say we're still learning this new edition. The other ones were obviously Sam's hand flamers that we pointed out there. Don't know how much of a difference it would have made in the long run. It certainly meant he did a little bit of extra damage, but would it have made a difference to the outcome? I don't know. But also the toughness of my flyer. I think I quoted it in the game as a 7. It's actually only toughness 6, which is a little bit disappointing. Most flyers seem to get toughness 7. So yeah, did I say 5, 7? Anyway, I quoted it as 7. It's actually 6. But I think this is symptomatic of what we've been doing at the moment, which is trying to play different armies, showcase a bit of different stuff, and you know, give some variety, not only for us in our gaming but also for you guys watching. But I think now I'm going to try and focus in on one army for a little while, maybe play my Eldar until the Marine Codex comes out, which to be honest shouldn't actually be that long, and then once the Marine Codex comes out I really want to focus in on learning Space Marines properly, because at the moment I'm having to flick through rules and making mistakes, at least in part due to having switched armies so many times. But yeah, hopefully it's made some entertaining reports for you guys, and hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.